Welcome to Our Town, a 30-minute podcast brought to you by Best Bark Communications, a small but fierce client-centered marketing company powered by decades of experience and well-established business networks.
This is Andy Ockershausen, and this is Our Town, and we have the opportunity to talk to a legend in the television business in the greater Washington area in our town, a man I've known for many, many years, a local, and a very, very, very competent man in television, Ernie Baur. Ernie, welcome to Our Town.
Thank you, Andrew.
We've seen a lot now that we're both has-beens.
That's right. You're the president. I'm the vice president of the Has-Been Club.
Ernie and I used to spend a lot of time together at Comcast Sportsnet, looking out the window, watching them build a building.
That's exactly right.
That's one of the biggest buildings in Bethesda now.
Well, absolutely. And the other thing is, I'm born and raised in Bethesda. And
you never lived in the city, right?
No. And when I first got there, the first day, they're walking me around, and the guy says, "You know your way around?" I said, "Yeah, I was a safety patrol right here." And Gifford's Ice Cream was right across the street. And
school safety patrol.
Yeah, I was a safety patrol. I went to Our Lady of Lourdes, which was right down the street.
Well, you took me by your house one day. I remember where you lived right behind BCC.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct?
Yeah, still in the house.
And you went to college you went to high school at BCC.
I went to Our Lady of Lourdes for the 8th grade, and then in those days, public high schools were 3 years, and Catholic high schools were 4 years. So you had 9th grade kind of floating out there. And my parents, being good Catholics, they wanted me to go to Catholic school, so I went to good counsel out in Wheaton. Used to hitchhike. I was just telling somebody I went hitchhiked all the way out there every day.
They didn't have a bus for you?
No, not for the no. In those days, you would see Gonzaga guys, St. John's guys, everybody all hitchhiking. And this before there was no metro, So anyway, I would hitchhike out there, have the Zavarian brothers slap me around, and then hitchhike home. And I lived a block from BCC, and I'm like, wait a minute, there are women here. Because this is all boys then in good counsel. I went in 61, and it only opened in 60, I think. So anyway.
Was that originally all boys, good counsel?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, the city is open an all-boys school, and they call it the Ron Brown.
Yeah, I just saw something in the paper about that.
Yeah, I did too. That's the first. I knew Ron Brown real well.
Yeah.
When he ran into that mountain.
Right, exactly.
And
so anyway, I went to BCC, and then I graduated from there. And then I never went to college. I went to Montgomery College for about an hour and a half, and didn't do well. So
well, you and I in the same boat. Right. I said I'm going to college. I'm going to be wasting a lot of time, so I better get busy.
Exactly,
and I did.
Right.
So, Ern, where did you start? Your first job was in Bethesda?
No, as far as broadcasting is concerned.
Yeah.
I got out of the net. I went into.
What did you do before broadcasting?
I've cooked steaks at a place called Bonanza on Rockville Pike. It's a pancake house now, right across from Timpano's. But it used to be Bonanza. It was one of these places.
Steakhouse.
The most expensive thing was $1.39. You got a steak, a baked potato, a salad, and a piece of Texas toast. They called it.
I bet it was delicious.
Yes, and it was a cafeteria style. It was like Rustler, kind of like that. So I cooked steaks there, and I just gotten out of the basic training. I beat the draft, thank God, and I went to Fort Dix. Did basic training, came back out, cooking steaks, really got nothing to do. And this buddy of mine worked at Channel 9. He was a copy boy, and he decided to go away to college. He said, "You want to do this? 3 hours a day, 3 days a week." And I used to rip copy for AP. They had those teletype machines where where the wire copy came across, and I'd have to rip that and separate it, Associated Press, UPI, Sports, things like that. And I'd run the mail. It was, we're behind the crab.
Was it there then?
Yeah.
Across
from Wilson High School.
Were they in the new building? Because before Channel 9 moved there, they had another location.
No, it had been there for a while when I got there in 67. So I used to take the mail down.
What year was that, 67?
67, August of 67. And I'd take the mail down to the Tenley post office. So I just turned 20. And these guys had a little football team. TOP at Channel 9 had a football team, a little flag football team, beer league thing. So I'm young, and they said, "You want to play?" So I said, "Yeah, I'll play." I was never good at controlled sports, but in the playground, I wasn't that bad. So anyway, I had a pretty good game, and they said, "Hey, you want to have a full-time job?" And so they had a training program. You made $65 a week, probably took home $52. And
that was pretty good dough,
yeah,
right?
Right. And so I got in the training program. But I want to go back when I was a copy boy. The other thing I did is I typed teleprompter for the talent. Julian Barber, Sam Donaldson, Tony Sylvester, Don Allen, Hal Walker. Those were kind of the people that were anchoring the news at the time.
Was Louis Allen there doing the weather?
No. This was John Douglas.
Oh, yeah.
And Bill McColgan was the sports guy.
Oh, I knew him quite well.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Anyway, so, and with Donaldson, he was a heart attack waiting to happen. He did everything at the last minute. And I'm typing teleprompter. I can't type. I'm one finger like this. So what you you typed it on this huge thing and on this yellow paper, huge yellow paper, and you'd had to get it down to the floor director 10 minutes before the show so he could thread it up. So because everybody was kind of late, you got a copy of the script that the town's going to read, and you retyped it in this prompter. But when you got to the point that you had to take it down to the floor director,
right.
You would write, go to script. So that way the town knows, okay, the prompter's done, and I'm going to have to go to script. Every night for Sam Donaldson, this is what the prompter said, and me type it. Good evening, go to script. G-O-D space. Right.
Sam, what a character.
Oh, yeah.
He auditioned once. I recall the audition vividly at Channel 7.
Yeah.
And we didn't hire him. And the collective group was, this guy's a jerk.
Yeah.
We're not going to hire him. Then he became a huge star.
Yeah, no, he was high maintenance. And, he was a great broadcaster. But, he was, he'd always come up yelling, I'm surrounded by incompetence every day. That's what he always said.
And that was you.
Yes. So anyway, I got in this training program, and you start out being a stage manager. So the first thing I did was unload this fake log pile of toys for the Ranger Hal show. And I used to run the puppets. Hal did the voices, but
Ranger Hal.
Yeah, and so you'd get behind the screen and you put your hand up, and
Ernie,
it was
you're a manipulator.
Yes, Marvin Monkey, Dr. Fox, Oswald Rabbit, and we would run the puppets.
They were all part of the show.
Right. One time, Hal did all the voices.
What was the dog's name? Lucky?
I don't remember.
Didn't he have a dog?
No, that was Pick Temple, Lady.
Oh, that was Lady. That was Lady. You're
Pick
right.
Temple. So one time, we did a show on Saturdays, and the night before, we had gone out to what was the lodge, became the Dancing Crab, and we stayed much too late. The audio guy.
They still had the furniture in there from the lodge.
Me and the audio guy and stuff. So now we're Saturday morning. We're doing the show, hungover, and so Hal would do the voices, and so he would go down and he would have a conversation with the puppet. He would say. So we had all these kids, and so at the end of the show, he goes. So Oswald, do you think the kids had a good time? Yeah, they had a great time. And do you think they enjoyed the gifts? Oh yeah, I think so. And what do you think they're going to do this weekend? Watch Gomer Pyle on CBS. Earl was hungover and hit the wrong button.
This was showbiz.
Absolutely.
Oh, Ernie, what a great start, though, for you to be getting into business on the ground floor.
Oh, absolutely.
I can relate to that, and I think it was, and Janice can too. She started as an intern. I started as an intern.
Right.
But we got in on the ground floor.
Oh, absolutely. And
does that happen now, you think?
Well, you're not going to be able to play flag football and then get a job. Not in the business, not anymore. Right. But yeah, you need to now. And I tell people that are trying to get in, I said, you got to get an internship. You can't walk out of college. You think you know everything coming out of college. You know nothing. And what they teach in college, and no disrespect, but on-the-job training is the only way you're really going to learn things because it's completely different in a lot of ways.
And you're going to start at the bottom.
Right. And so you need to to start at the bottom, an internship is the way to do it. Because as you know, it's as much who you know as what you know.
Well, how did you leave Channel 9 and end up at 7 for a while? A lot of people don't know that.
Yes, Charlie Stopak and a lady named Stephanie Grimes, who I'd worked with at 9. It was 1974, and I went to Channel 9. I said, they really want me to come over.
That's 40 years ago, Ernie.
Thank you. They really want me to come over, and I'm not sure that I'm interested, but, what do you think? And they never came back to me. So I went over there, and I directed Ed Walker. Did a show called A.M. Washington, Ed Walker and Ruth Hudgens.
Remember it well.
So, and I can tell you a little story about that.
Stopak was the executive producer?
He was the head of the directors. Yeah, basically.
I knew Charlie he grew up at Channel 7.
Absolutely. Great guy. But I was really out of my element, doing that show. I directed news and sports. Here I'm directing a kids show, The Magic Door, with Walty Rasulala and A.M. Washington with a blind guy. Okay? Which, by the way, so anyway, fortunately for me at Channel 9, the person that they hired to replace me was awful. So awful to the point that they came back to me and they had Gordon Peterson take me out and say, we need to get him back.
That must have been flattering.
Yes.
Who was the manager? Betty Endicott? Was she the manager then?
At 9? No, this was...
not Larry Israel.
It wasn't Pfeiffer. No, this is after Larry Israel. It might have been Pfeiffer. I can't remember. In Townsend.
Pfeiffer and Townsend, right.
Townsend. So anyway, no, it was Jim Lina. That's who it was, Jim Lina.
I remember
and Jim
him
Snyder
very
was the
well.
news director. Ben Snyder and John Baker was the producer. They were the ones that said, look, we got to get Ernie back.
Okay.
And whatever it takes. And so Gordon got me back.
Well, when you were at Channel 7, you met a young lady there that you had an affair with or something. You decided you...
No, I met Lucille at 9.
Oh, I thought you met Lucille.
No,
Lucille worked at 7.
Yes. She worked at 9 and 7. This is my wife we're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's what we get to that.
That's
She
right.
knows.
That's right.
But Ernie, I thought Lucille was at 7 when you were there.
She
but
was. We weren't there together. She came after. She went there after I did. But she graduated from Maryland in 1971, and her first job was at Channel 9. I was already there, and that's where we met. And we got married in 73.
Well, Lucille, we know very well, and she but worked at WML Radio.
Absolutely.
But when she was there, it was WML TV. We were one company.
Exactly.
Same people worked both areas.
Exactly.
And at one time, WTOP was that way.
Exactly.
If you remember. Television and radio were
Right.
together.
The radio station was 2 floors down. I used to go down there all the time and hang around with Jamie Bragg and
the talent.
and Bernie Smilovitz and people that were working down there.
Right.
And I got to meet a lot of those guys. They were
Those
great
are
guys.
wonderful names.
Right.
Well, we're going to take a break now, Ernie, and we'll figure out a way to pay for this, Bodge.
Okay.
This is Andy Ockershouse. I'm talking to Ernie Baur, the great director from, we'll get into that, Comcast Sportsnet.
Are you retired or soon will be? Is your will up to date? Don't want to leave a mess for your family to clean up. I'm attorney Mike Collins, the guy who sends you those invitations to my estate planning seminar. I'll teach you how to save taxes, avoid probate, protect your heirs from lawsuits, bankruptcy, even the divorce court. Keep your money in your family with our innovative Reservoir Trust. Watch the mail for your invitation. Tuition's free when you register online at MikeCollins.com. That's MikeCollins.com.
You're listening to Our Town with Andy Ockershausen. Brought to you by Best Bark Communications.
This is Andy Ockershausen. We're back here on Our Town. I'm talking to Ernie Baur from Channel 7, Channel 9, and the CBS television network. I used to see him on Sunday at the football games with the two big yellow, I thought they were flags. They were gloves.
Orange sleeves. Yeah, I just did that, as a matter of fact, this year for the preseason games. I did it for that Comcast is doing. I did it for the game against who they just played, Jets, and then I'm going to do it for the Bills game.
You get paid for that?
Yeah, it's the best job in television. Job in television.
But who'd you work for? Bill Bell?
Yeah, he called me up.
You were on the ground?
Yeah.
You did the thing you used to do for CBS?
Yeah, I did it for 15 years at RFK, and I did it for 6 Super Bowls.
And they flew you to the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Huh? I did it for there's a famous play in 49er history, The Catch. Dwight Clark, I was there for that.
Yeah, The Catch.
Yeah, I did that. Yep.
In the end zone, right?
Well, he caught in the end zone. I'm on the 25-yard line. I never
with
move. And they put security around you. It's because you need to eyeball the referee.
Right.
Nobody can get in front of you. It's the greatest job in the world. Yeah.
And you've been doing it that's 40 years, Ernie.
Well, I haven't done it, in the last 20.
Well, I thought you were the director of the game.
Yeah, I directed preseason games, with Kevin O'Brien, and I got the games from Jack and Cook. And
I remember that you did the bit with the training camp with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We did scrimmages,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was unbelievable. We did it up in Carlisle at Carlisle High School. And they're going to scrimmage at night. Well, there are no lights there. So this guy, Joe DeVito, wonderful man, he bolted these lights into these metal stands. I said, I'm telling you, one lightning bolt, and we've wiped out Carlisle. So, and the lights are all pointed towards the Steelers. So Chuck Knoll can't see, it's like having 15 cars pointing their lights right in your eyes. And he can't, and we go to commercial. He goes, we're going to commercials in scrimmages. But at one point.
Well, that would replace the game. Right?
Yeah.
That's one of Kevin's ideas.
Right. No, it was Duffy Dyer, actually. It was his idea, and we pulled it off.
Kevin had gone by then.
Yeah, and we had pulled it off. And there was one time when we didn't have, how at games you see that camera that's on a cart that goes up and down? Well, we didn't have a cart, so our chief engineer, Dave Lewis, had like a Toyota thing with a flatbed on the back. So we put the camera on that.
And drove the Toyota.
And went up and down. And Gerald Riggs goes out of bounds, and you see him coming towards the camera, and then he disappears, and you see the camera wobble. And then he did $900 worth of damage to the side of that truck. He ran into the side of the truck and collapsed it. And I get a call in the truck, right away. Get that thing out of here. You're going to kill our players. I said, No, the player's okay. The truck's the problem.
He heard the truck.
Right.
Well, Riggs was a big running back.
Yes, he was.
Boy.
Yeah.
Well, Ernie, that reminds me of all the days and all the things you did with the Redskins.
Yeah.
And the one was Channel 5, who ended up doing the Redskin games. Is that funny?
Yeah.
9 was a Redskins institution.
Right,
in this
exactly.
town.
And then Fox, yeah.
Let me give you a couple of names. And I know it because I
Right.
was there. Glenn Brenner and the group.
Okay, well, here's a trivia question for you, or a trivia answer to you. We had Warner Wolf was the sportscaster. He left, and Jim Snyder heard a guy on WWDC named Mike Wolf, and
I remember him.
immediately hired him as the sports guy. He looked like he had chains and
Right.
and not a bad
Didn't
guy.
shave.
Really not pretty nice guy. And the weekend guy was a guy named Klaus Wagner, and so Klaus Wagner decides that he's leaving to go to Baltimore. And so Ken Tiven was a producer. He said, well, I know a guy who's on the beach because Glenn had gotten fired in Philadelphia. He was out of work.
Is that right?
Yeah. So we brought Glenn in, and Glenn, in essence, when he first came, replaced Klaus Wagner.
Wow.
And then they fired Mike Wolf and bumped Glenn up.
Well, he was on the radio up there, too, wasn't he? WFIL?
That might be George Michaels. I don't know if Glenn was on the radio up there.
Glenn was just a TV guy.
Yeah. So anyway.
Was he doing the same shtick in Philly?
Yes.
Didn't work?
And I think that's what got him fired. Somebody told me they built this brand new set. They spent $1 bazillion and they premiered it in it, and it sort of had these box seats where the talent looked and looked like a jury box. And so I think Glenn got up and said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're out of order, you're out of order, you're out of order." And the management didn't take kind of
They didn't think it was funny.
No, because they spent a lot of money on this set. But anyway, Glenn was great. I mean, as you knew him. I mean,
Oh my God,
the more people were around, the funnier he got. He was a taskmaster, though. I mean, he demanded a lot from the guys that worked for him.
Oh, did he?
But he was great.
He was a performer, an actor,
Absolutely.
a comedian,
And,
an
straight,
entertainer.
Right. He tells a great story. He was pitching for the Mets in the minor leagues, and he's struggling. So the pitching coach comes out, and he goes, "Hey, Rook, how about throwing strikes?" And Brenner goes, "Oh, why didn't you tell me that sooner? Why didn't I think of that? How about throwing strikes? What a novel idea." Yeah, right.
It's like Max McGee with the football when he said to Lombardi. Lombardi said, "This is a football." He said, "Don't go so fast."
Right, exactly. Slow down,
This
coach.
would be Brenner.
Right. Slow down.
Story. But Glenn was such an institution, part of the Monday night fracas, I called it. And I used to go up to the Crab for two reasons. One is to see the guy, but also they had cable there. They were jipping the cable from Channel 9.
Nelson Crumling was an engineer, and Frank Herzog at one point, we looked at it and he says, "The Crab has better equipment than we do," because Nelson Crumling stood up. But the thing is, and you're talking about Redskins sidelines, that originally was called the Warner Wolf Show. And then when Warner left, of course, Mike Wolf did it for 1 year with Sonny, and we had to change the name.
Did Warner do it with a studio audience?
Oh yeah, it was the same.
I didn't
It
know
was the
that.
same thing. And 1 week, the first year, 1 week he would have Larry Brown as a co-host, and then the next week would be Dyron Talbert, and they alternated. Then the next year that he did it, we had Roy Jefferson 1 week, and then Dyron Talbert. But once Warner left and Sonny came, then we didn't need players. We had Sonny as the thing.
With Glenn.
With Glenn. All right. So now here's the deal, and you know this. Monday was the night we did it, 7:30. That was the players' day off.
Right.
And so the room that became the malt shop was a closed room at the Dancing Crab, and nobody was allowed up there. But Fred Norris and George Johnson, who ran it, opened it up just for these guys, and nobody was allowed up there. I was allowed up there. But so they'd get the player would get there. Billy and Talbert and McDowell and all those guys would get there around 2, and the guest would get there around 2. So now they're 5.5 hours into, having a good time. Now we have the guest come on, and he's pie-eyed, every time. And Glenn would say, "I see you stopped at the malt shop to have some malt." And then that's why they named it the malt shop. It was just a room. They never, but it was based on that.
I remember the big room.
And I mean, the guy, all wobbling because he's been, there. And then they'd go out drinking.
After the show.
Yeah, after the show.
After the show part.
Right.
But there was also, as I recall vividly, there was a line out front for people to get in to see that show.
Very much so. We gave tickets, and they were free.
Yeah.
And first of all, I had to give you 15 tickets, so that, but,
That was only for our friends.
Right, exactly. And so, there was always a line out there. I mean, and that's a show that, you're talking about this audience that we're talking to. They'll know. Now you get to other people that are younger. They don't know what you're talking about.
Nobody does it anymore.
No.
We tried to do it. We tried to do it, remember, at Comcast with our Monday night show.
Right.
But it didn't have the same allure. It was different.
No, and you had to. You have
didn't
too
have
many.
Glenn.
Yeah, you didn't have Glenn. What happened was that, after I left, they had they used to run the Wheel of Fortune or something like that, or Jeopardy on Channel 9. It was a strip show.
Right. They
7:30. And so they got mad, said you can't preempt it on Mondays, for this thing. And so then they moved it to Saturday, and it was taped, and it didn't do well. But of course, and this is the famous show, the infamous show. It did so well during Redskins season. They decided, Channel 9 decided, well, why don't we extend it beyond the season? We'll just call it Sidelines. So we would have a show, say, with the Bullets, at the time, the Bullets. So we decided we'll have a show with the Caps. This is in January or something like that. Well, it was 7:30, live audience, boom. It starts snowing around 9 o'clock in the morning. Now it's getting deeper, And so now I call the Caps up and I go, you guys think you're going to be able to make it? Oh, yeah, we're hockey players. It was Guy Sharon, Danny Belial, I don't know.
Gigi.
Right. So now we got 6 feet of snow, and the audience can't get there, and the Caps are stuck in College Park, but we still have to do a show. So I gathered everybody in the station to be in the audience, and you see in the audience Mike Buchanan, Pat Collins, Susan King. I don't know if Andrea Mitchell was there, but all the talent,
right.
And a couple of the engineers. But we have no guest. So first comes out Gordon and Glenn and Sonny, and we get Gordon Barnes on, who was doing the weather, And somebody throws a snowball, hits him right in the groin, and somebody had a live mic on, and you're right in the balls. Oh God! So now we're scrambling, So Gordon Peterson, God bless him, wanders around, and we said, "Why don't you come on?" So he comes on, and he comes on as Guy Legui.
Oh, the world famous.
Venezuela. He's an American imitating a Venezuelan hockey player with a Swedish accent, okay? And he's Guy Legui. And it's great. And he talks about, in an accent that I can't do, it's tough to be a hockey player in Venezuela because the ice keeps melting and all this stuff.
A great line.
And then, any questions from the audience? And Chris Gordon raises his hand, how long have you been Guy?
And Chris Gordon's still on the air.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about that, buddy?
Gordon Peterson says, of all the things I've done, this is what I'll be remembered for. Guy Legui. And people still tap me on the shoulder about that one.
I love Guy Legui. I thought it was absolutely fabulous.
Right.
Well, when Brenner could get it going.
No, absolutely.
They were special times because your crew was special.
Yeah.
These guys all liked each other.
Yes.
And then they had that after Glenn died in 92, I remember that vividly.
Right.
There was some kind of flare-up with Sonny and Channel 9.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm not going to do the show.
And I think the flare-up was also exacerbated by Glenn passing away.
Absolutely.
Because he had such a rapport with him.
So then they said they can't work anywhere else.
Right.
And I forget the manager of Channel 9 at the time. I remember he's a good guy. His son was a diver, a platform diver. Went to the Olympics. Who was the general manager? God, Ernie, I'll think of his name. Anyway, I know the story that that Sonny couldn't work at Channel 4.
Right.
So they went to court.
Yeah.
And and he won the case. I know that. Harold Mesereau, who handled the case for Sonny. They charged that Channel 9 never asked him to come to work.
Oh.
They didn't give him a schedule.
Right.
So the judge said, they didn't ask you? No, they never asked me to come to work. I just told them I didn't want to work there, and I didn't want to be there without Glenn.
Right.
And they said, too bad, you're not going to work anywhere else. But they didn't say show up on Monday.
Uh-huh.
So the judge threw the case out. And then it's a story he went to work for
George.
For George.
Right. Because I know Channel 4 went after Gordon Peterson at one point in 1979. And they went to court, and Gordon lost in the fact that he had to go back to Channel 9.
Yeah, he had a contract.
He wanted to go to 4.
And then he ended up going to 7. I guess he did that for money, too.
Right.
The Weatherman did, too. He left you.
Yeah.
And went to 7.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hopping in those days.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be right back here with Our Town. We're talking to Ernie Baur, and this is Andy Ockershausen. And I'm learning a lot of things about you, Ernie.
Hi, Tony Sybil here to tell everybody about our wonderful restaurants at Washington Harbor. Tony and Joe's, the best seafood in the city. Nick's Riverside Grill, wonderful chops and steaks, wonderful views of the Kennedy Center, Roosevelt Island, Roslyn skyline, spectacular. 2 bars outside right on the water. Fabulous food. For dinner reservations, call 202-944-4545. It's really a great experience. We'll see you down at Tony and Joe's or Nick's Riverside Grill.
You're listening to Our Town with Andy Ockershausen. Brought to you by Best Bark Communications.
This is Andy Ockershausen, and this is Our Town, and I'm speaking with the famous Ernie Baur, who has a million stories. Part of them I lived with through, if not in person, I heard about it the next day. And part of it was true. But the best part about Ernie Baur, he was a director par excellence, a producer. Ernie, in his career, has won 14 Emmys, and that ain't easy.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate it, Ernie. I know how good you are. Let's talk a little bit about home team sports.
Okay.
Was it home team sports when you started?
Yes, 1999. I came over as an executive producer for Home Team Sports in 99, and then Comcast 2001 took over.
Then took over and so forth, and did the Redskin preseason.
Yes.
That was quite a coup. I had worked with that with, God, it goes way back before Rebecca when we started working on the Redskins with Nancy had worked for us here.
Hubacher?
Nancy Hubach and I helped get them write that contract so that we ended up doing the preseason games. And you did those for years, correct?
Yeah. That was, we took that over, and you just something went through my head there, and it'll come back later.
You won an Emmy with it. I mean, we for the technical aspect, right?
Yes, right.
And now I guess Bill Bell does it.
For
some reason, I keep calling him Bill Brown, who was the producer.
He was executive producer with Jody at Home
now
Team
he's
Sports.
the big man at Fox, of course. He gets the credit.
The biggest accomplishment that I did, or not I did, but I was part of, was when Comcast came in and bought Home Team Sports in February, and Home Team Sports did games. That's really pretty much what they did. They did the Bullets and the Caps
and the Orioles,
and they did games, and they didn't really have a structure of a news department. There was really, there was no news department.
No, that's right, none. Sort of like Masson now.
Right. So Comcast comes in and in February buys it, announces that they buy it, and we went on the air with a full news show and news complement in April.
Wow.
We didn't have a newsroom. You were there, Andy.
That was Cudahy, right?
Yeah, Cudahy came down, and I was the only one I'm going to say I'm the only one that had been involved with news at Home Team Sports.
Right.
So, and Cudahy and those guys really get most of the credit, but a lot of the people that came over, they, Chick.
Oh, you invaded Channel 5.
And Channel 9, and because I knew all these guys, and, they would say, well, do you think it's a good idea? I said, I'll tell you what, you'll never hear us say we're pulling a crew because of a robbery, okay? We do sports,
That's all we do.
All we do is sports. And so,
Joe Yasharoff, a lot of people.
Larry Duvall, Brian Crisafulli, who's now the news director there, Chick, there's a bunch of people there. But anyway, we went from zero to, a full staff and a full, equipment, everything in 3 months. I've never seen anything like that.
Well, that's what Comcast wanted. They were willing to pay for it.
Now they had they had sort of the form of how to do it.
A sports news.
But we went from nothing to that. I thought that was amazing.
I did too, and it was well received.
Right.
Because we were new in the market and so forth, and we're trying to compete.
Right.
Now, as you know, they're giving up the morning show. They're going to simulcast a radio show.
Yeah.
Did you knew that?
I read about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Ernie, what other things besides that at Channel Channel 9?
Well, when I was there, I told you I was in this training program. Okay. So part of it, I used to direct some of these side shows, Mass for Shut-ins. I probably had led the league in doing Mass for Shut-ins, and what that was they would bring these people in to and we'd simulate a mass so that people on Sunday that couldn't get out or in home could watch. So. In fact, Father Hurley, if you go to Father Hurley Boulevard, he was one of the priests that came in and did Mass for Shut-In.
Right?
Yeah.
He always gets mad. Did Father John come in too?
No, Father John wasn't part of it.
But you grew up with Father John.
Yeah, we went to grade school together. Right. Father Fox, who married Lucille and I, and Father Hurley. In fact, Father Hurley gets mad at the traffic reports when they say, Father Hurley's backed up today. That bothers him. That bothers him. But anyway, so we would do these Mass for shut-ins. Now I'm Catholic, okay, so I sort of understand the Mass. And you get to a point in the Mass, it's called the consecration, where they hold up the wafer of the host, and we would take a shot of the host, and then we would half lap the cross, and they'd ring the bell, and that was a big deal. Well, none of the camera guys weren't Catholic, some of them. So I said, okay, give me a tight shot of the host. And this camera guy takes a shot of this guy standing off to the side. I said, no, he's the MC. That's not the host.
Phenomenon, right?
So I would direct that. I directed Jewish Community Hour, which, by the way, was
you had a career,
which was, by the way, a half an hour. I got a kick out of that. The Jewish Community Hour. It's a half hour. Anyway.
And then you Ranger Hal.
Well, I didn't direct that, but I directed shows like that. So eventually,
Pick Temple?
I was a kid on Pick Temple.
Oh.
So anyway, eventually they had a director at Channel 9 named Fred Schultz, and they were very happy with him. He came from Texas. Well, he comes up, his wife gets homesick, and she says, I can't stand living here. I want to go back to Texas. And he caught him off guard, and they didn't have anybody to direct. So they said, well, what are we going to do? He said, well, we're going to let Ernie try it, but he's not going to be the director. We're going to do a nationwide search for somebody. We'll let him, fill in until we find somebody that's competent, not him. Well, I ended up apparently doing pretty well, and I ended up directing it for the next 13 years.
Wow.
I directed the 6 and 11 and did produce Ritz.
Nobody does anything like that anymore, right?
No, I don't. Yeah, not too much. I mean, now it's completely different because it's all tied to computers. Heaven forbid the computer gets out, you're done.
They're trying to get rid of us,
Right.
Ernie, with computers. Have you noticed that?
Right.
But I'm not giving up, and you're not giving up either.
So anyway, but
Are you the instigator of the luncheon? We call it the post luncheon.
No, I'm not the. I came in late. That was 4 or 5 guys, and they invited me in 2010, and I've been coming there. I think they started in 2008.
It's a group of guys that grew up here in the sports world business with the Post.
Right.
But now you've enlarged it. A lot of people. I think it's cathartic to me to see all these guys. To
It's
be
Lenny
with them.
Shapiro and Bill Gilday. And Kenny Denlinger used to come until he passed away, and Paul Atner used to come, and then so then I was invited, and I came, and Charlie Brotman comes, and you come, Marty Aronoff, and then there's Gene Wong who writes there now, and Christine Brennan comes all the time, and so it's a lot of fun.
These are all Washington sports personalities. Right. Some of them off the air, some of them on the air, but they still keep it alive.
Yeah, once a month we will always meet.
I think it's a wonderful thing.
And lie.
Well, there's no more dancing crab, Ernie. They tell us, and
right.
That's sort of crushing to me because that was part of our lives in broadcast.
Oh, absolutely.
In Northwest Washington.
Right.
To go to the crab and see everybody. Right. And it was non-denominational. You had WMAL, WMAL TV,
right.
WTOP TV.
Right.
A lot of people don't remember
right.
that. The people from Channel 4, WRC,
right.
they all would come to this.
Well, what happened?
They were all friends.
Right. But what happened was then everybody sort of moved to Chadwick's, which was down the street.
Chad's, right?
Yeah, Chad's.
I remember when they opened.
Yeah, I worked at Channel 5, which is right there. Somebody said, where's Channel 5? I said, well, it depends on what kind of mood you're in. It's either down the street from Chadwick's or across the street from Galler's funeral home. It depends on, how you're feeling that day.
Ernie, one of the difficulties I had in communicating home team sports and then in Comcast was, where do I watch you?
Right.
And I say, where do you live? And they say, well, I don't live there.
Right.
Because they didn't have a channel number.
Right.
That to me was flabbergasting when they owned the cable system. People wouldn't know where you get it. 32 in one place, 50 in another, 117 somewhere else. Now, one thing Joe Albritton did, or somebody was smart enough to buy all those new Channel 8s.
Yeah.
Well, he put them on the map, didn't it?
Well, you remember the problem at Comcast that they had because they go into Baltimore. They couldn't figure out what market, when we did news.
Oh, I know
that. They couldn't figure out what market to do to. So what we did, it's a little complicated, but the first segment, say one day we would decide that we're going to go live to Baltimore. So we would tape the first segment for Washington. And then we would get how long that was. Say it was 7 minutes long. And so they would then feed that to the Washington market, and the Baltimore market we would do live to the Baltimore market.
Breaking news.
It would be the exact same length as the tape thing. And then they'd go to the first commercial together, and then the back 3 segments were done simultaneously for everybody.
Simulcast.
But it didn't, they were trying to cater to 2 markets, and it just didn't work, because Baltimore people, Baltimore's Baltimore, Washington's Washington.
One of the things that Comcast allegedly tried to do was to set up 2 different services. It never worked. Masson snuck in there and took that market away from them. Mm-hmm. But Ernie, I would tell you that this has been so delightful. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot of things that I thought about you, but about Lucille with Channel 5, but she didn't come with you.
No, she came later. I was there, and Betty Endicott and Sandy Pastor were the management at Channel 5, and we had the Cherry Blossom Parade.
Oh, I remember
Yeah,
that. You
and
did
so
the-
Lucille produced the Cherry Blossom Parade, and there's stories
And
about
you
that.
directed the parade.
Yeah, I
one time.
directed them, and Lucille, we sat next to each other.
No
She
local
produced it, I
station
did.
could afford to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just enormous.
Oh.
The other thing that Lucille used to handle the morning show, I remember that. She
Fox Morning News, yes.
But she had been at WMAL Radio
Right.
for the other Sandy, she and Sandy Anderson.
Sandy Anderson, Lucille worked in promotion, and this was in the heyday. I mean, this was the Hardin and Weaver
Oh,
and Tom
my
Gager
God.
and everybody, you
She
know.
remembers
Trouble and Core, you know, Ken Beatrice, you know, I mean, this is when, you know, like we were talking earlier, in those days,
This
Channel
was it.
9 and WMAL Radio dominated this
Absolutely,
market. And
everything.
I'm not talking, and somebody at Channel 4 can call me up, I'm telling you, we
know
dominated
that.
it. You know, now they do now, but we did then. Max and Gordon and
absolutely.
Warner and Pat Collins and Mike Buchanan and Susan King.
And people were,
you know,
and
Gordon
people were
Barnes.
Larry Krebs. We didn't mention him enough,
Right,
but
exactly.
Larry Krebs. Nobody had a reporter all
Right,
night long
right.
on the street because
No.
they couldn't afford it.
Right.
But Krebs did it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I used to say that I bet his salary was up at like $1.25 an hour because he was 24 hours in the car.
Absolutely.
Nobody offers that, Ernie.
Right.
And this has been such a delightful, and I don't think of anything else I could say, Ernie, other than, God, I'm glad you're still working. I'm glad you're still working. I'm glad you're alive.
Right.
And you have a wonderful family. I know your children very well. In fact, your daughter we used to call her party girl because she'd end up at all the parties,
Right.
correct? With you.
With me, yes.
Eileen.
That's right. Kayleen.
And then she went away to school, right?
Yeah, she went to Boston College, and then she came back, and she works for the Audi Corporation now out in Reston.
She has children? Your
Yes,
you're
yes.
getting older,
We
Ernie.
have our grandson Colin is going to be 4 in November, and our granddaughter Claire is about going to be is about a year and a half right now.
How about your son? Is he at your...
Ernest
Ernest
is
went south.
He's a technical director. He went to Denver. Now he's back. He lives in Albany, but he's a technical director, which is in a truck or remote in a truck or a control room is a big switcher with buttons.
Oh, yeah.
He does that. It's called a TD, and he does it for the WWE wrestling. Vince McMahon, those guys, and he does it on the NFL on Fox. He does a football game and he does it when a visiting team comes in to play the Nats. He usually is the TD for the visiting team. So he's doing
still
real well.
active then.
Real well.
But
yeah.
he's not with the station.
No, he's a
with that
freelance guy.
service.
Just has to, it's like a crew will call him up. He just has to be close to an airport. That's all he has to do.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's great that your boys are doing that.
Absolutely.
My children all left. They left the community. I wish
Right.
they'd have stayed. Ernie Baur, this has been just great.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I learned
absolutely,
a lot
Andrew.
about you.
Well, Andrew, I mean, you and I have been friends for 40 years or maybe long. Yeah.
We've been to the 70s,
Right,
Ernie.
and we
were here.
We've been around we're from here. That's the other thing.
That's exactly right.
Which is unusual it's almost like a military thing. Military people are so transient, because they bounce around, and the same in broadcasting.
That's
right. There's not a lot. There's some that are lucky enough to have born, raised, and worked in their hometown.
Cully. We
Yeah.
did Cully. John Ensler's going to be on the program.
Yeah, I went to he and I went
Father
to Our Lady of
John,
Lourdes.
I know you all are close.
I
And,
tell people, he went from kindergarten to 8th grade, and I said after 8 years of going to school with me, he immediately went into the priesthood.
yeah, and he
Tim
became
Brandt?
a priest, but what happened to you?
Right,
And,
Tim Brandt.
Timmy's been on.
Yeah.
And more will come. Cully's
Yeah.
coming on, as
Right.
I told you.
Right.
But Ernie, thank you so much. Give our
thank
love
you.
to Lucille. We'll let you know. You'll be at our big party. Our
Yeah,
opening.
absolutely, and I'm looking forward to it.
And Lucille, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you,
Thank you,
babe.
Andrew.
You're the best,
Okay,
babe.
thank you.
My pal, Ernie Baur. I'm Andy Ockershouse, and this has been Our Town.
You've been listening to Our Town Season 1 with your host, Andy Ockershausen. New Our Town podcast episodes are released each Tuesday and Thursday. We welcome your comments and suggestions on how you like the show or who you'd like to hear from next. Catch us on Facebook at Our Town DC or visit our website at OurTownDC.com. Our special thanks to WMAL Radio in Washington, D.C. for hosting our podcasts.